Welcome to the Culture Compute Podcast, Learning in the Digital Age. From the University of Massachusetts Amherst, I am Sai Gattupalli, your host and a learning sciences researcher here at the College of Education. It's been a while since our last episode, as I have had the privilege of welcoming my mother to the US for the very first time. It has been an incredible experience sharing my world with her, introducing her to my colleagues, touring her around my classrooms, and giving her a taste of life at the university. She even made a South Indian delicacy called payasam for my students, a small but memorable cultural exchange that meant a lot to everyone. So, thank you, Amma, for making this time even more special. Now, let's dive into today's topic, a groundbreaking study on generative AI and its influence on human learning. This paper, published in the Nature Journal of Human Behaviour and authored by researchers from Monash University, the Technical University of Munich, and the University of Luxembourg, where the authors are exploring both the promises and challenges of generative AI and what it means in educational landscape. As someone who is deeply committed to advancing AI literacy and prompt literacy, I find this topic personally meaningful. These literacies are not just about understanding how to use AI, they are about using and knowing how to engage with it thoughtfully, a theme that echoes throughout this paper. The authors include Lixiang Yan, Samuel Grief, Zivan Tuber, and Dragan Grasovich. And without repeating their names, I will refer to them as the authors and discuss their views. Together, let's unpack how this new general purpose technology is transforming learning and the responsibilities that come with such huge potential. To kick things off, let's look at one of the generative AI's most exciting promises, which is personalized support to learners. Picture a scenario where each student has access to an intelligent tutor which is available 24/7 and continuously adapts to their unique learning style. This is the kind of support that the authors believe generative AI can provide. They describe it as a tool that can be, and I quote, adaptive and responsive to a wide range of learners, end quotes. From students in traditional classrooms to adults looking to expand their skill sets. One supporting point they bring about in this is that the value of generative AI lies in its ability to interact meaningfully with learners. Unlike the traditional one-size-fits-all models, generative AI engages users in tailored conversations, responding to their needs in real time. It is as if each learner has a mentor, patiently guiding them through challenges without any judgment or frustration. Take, for example, GPT-4, which is the engine behind the popular Khan Academy's Khanmigo chatbot. The authors mention that rather than simply handing out answers, Khanmigo, the chatbot, nudges students towards deeper understanding through questions and hints, while supporting their problem-solving abilities rather than circumventing them. From a personal opinion, I genuinely believe this approach aligns well with what we are exploring in prompt literacy and AI literacy at the Advanced Learning Technologies Lab, where we teach pre-service teachers and in-service teachers to communicate effectively with AI. And we are not just showing them how to get the right answer, but we are empowering them to develop critical thinking skills and resilience. Imagine the long-term impact if every learner were equipped to engage with AI this way, not just as a shortcut, but as a partner in their intellectual growth. As the authors note, and I quote, enhanced interactions through AI can make effective and personalized learning experiences, end quote. That's a future we are working towards, where AI helps us all think and learn more deeply. In the same line, another incredible promise of generative AI technology is its potential to expand learning resources in ways that were previously unimaginable. Think about the diversity of learners today: students from different cultures, languages, and learning backgrounds. The generative AI technology can create content across a range of formats and languages, making educational resources more inclusive and accessible. Another supporting point there is that with generative AI, the possibilities of creating such inclusive educational resources are vast. Imagine AI that generates educational content not only in major languages but also for underserved linguistic communities, or that can adapt learning material for students with disabilities. The paper also highlights this potential, mentioning how the generative AI tools can rapidly create instructional resources such as quizzes, tutorials, and even multimedia content. This helps teachers focus on higher order instructional strategies, which allow students to engage with content in diverse ways. This is one of the areas I'm specifically passionate about, because when I think about the power of prompting or prompt literacy, I see it as a bridge that not only is between the students and the AI, but between different cultures and learning contexts. For instance, being able to prompt an AI chatbot in one's native language, or to request a visual explanation rather than text, is an empowering form of accessibility. At our lab, we are always keen on researching how such inclusivity can foster deeper engagement and a sense of belonging in classrooms around the globe. I have a quote to support this argument from the authors, who write, generative AI offers a range of pedagogical possibilities, allowing educators to create more dynamic and engaging learning environments, end quote. Generally speaking, this aligns with our vision, a common vision of an educational ecosystem where every learner finds a place. Now let's talk about feedback, which is a cornerstone of effective learning built on scaffolding. The value of feedback is well known, but delivering timely, in situ, and personalized feedback to every student is an ongoing challenge in education. Here, generative AI can or could play a pivotal role, providing students with immediate and constructive feedback that goes beyond a simple right or a wrong answer. By providing instant feedback that is specific and nuanced to the context and to the subject matter, generative AI can help students correct misunderstandings as they occur. I have seen this firsthand occur in math classrooms. It can also even offer feedback in multiple formats, such as texts, visuals, or even audio, allowing for a more personalized approach to learning. In this paper, the authors describe how AI driven feedback has shown promise in various studies. Students reported increased motivation and confidence when they received detailed feedback tailored to their needs rather than some generic response. I believe this idea of real time feedback is a powerful one, but it also comes with a caveat. Students need AI literacy skills to effectively interpret and apply AI generated feedback. They must understand that AI is not infallible, rather, it's a tool that requires discernment. That's why we are focusing on prompt literacy in our lab. When students know how to engage with and question AI feedback, they are not just learning, they are also actively shaping their learning journey. As the authors assert, and I quote, timely, specific, and constructive feedback is essential for effective learning. End quote. And I would add that this feedback is even more powerful when learners know how to critically engage with it. Generative AI also opens the door to more authentic forms of assessment. Assessments that go beyond memorization to evaluate real world skills such as problem solving and critical thinking. With GenAI, educators can create adaptive assessments that simulate real life challenges, allowing students to demonstrate their skills in meaningful contexts. More on this was discussed in the EdTech podcast, episode 281, with Dr. Rajeshwari Iyer of Synaptic AI. I will share the link of the episode in the show notes. But ultimately, these AI driven assessments adjust to each learner's ability or learners' abilities and can create scenarios that mirror real world applications of knowledge. One example the authors highlight in the paper is the use of virtual patients in medical education, which allows students to practice diagnosis and treatment planning in a controlled, risk-free environment. Such assessments are not just tests, they're also immersive learning experiences. I believe this approach to assessment is something I find really inspiring, and particularly as it aligns with our work on culturally responsive computing education. When assessments are authentic, students from all backgrounds can see the relevance of what they are learning. And with prompt literacy or AI literacy, students can interact more effectively with these assessments, asking the right questions and exploring solutions beyond the surface level. One quote the authors include is, and I quote, "These simulations make assessments more meaningful and contextualized." End quote. In other words, they are preparing students not just for exams, but for life beyond the classroom. Of course, there is no technology without its flaws. One of the major challenges facing generative AI technology today is the issue of hallucinations, where the AI chatbots generate incorrect or misleading information. This poses a unique challenge in education, where accuracy and validity is of paramount interest. AI operates probabilistically, which means it sometimes generates answers that sound correct but are factually wrong. For students who are still developing their critical thinking skills, this could lead to confusion and even misinformation. In one study referenced by the authors, students tended to trust AI generated answers even when they were incorrect. A big no no there. This underscores the importance of AI literacy and not only knowing how to use AI, but understanding its limitations. This is also where I see the role of this AI literacy and prompt literacy as essential safeguards. Students should learn to question AI outputs, cross check information that the chatbots are generating, and view AI as a collaborator rather than an infallible authority. At our lab, we are working on developing frameworks to teach these skills that empower learners around the world to think critically in an AI saturated world. Previously, in episode 11, I discussed more on this topic with Professor Tori Trust, who is the Professor of Learning Technologies at UMass. I will link the episode in the show notes for anyone interested. In the work, the authors highlight this need that stating that educators should teach learners to critically evaluate AI generated content, which is crucial, I believe, if we want GenAI to be a tool for empowerment rather than dependency. Finally, towards the ethical implications, including transparency, privacy, and equity. Let's touch now on the ethical dimensions of GenAI. For all its benefits, GenAI raises serious questions about transparency, privacy, and equity. Who owns the data? Who benefits from these technologies? For GenAI to be a trusted educational tool, it must be transparent and respectful of privacy. There is also the issue of accessibility. If only some students have access to GenAI, it could deepen existing educational divides. The authors mention cases where a lack of transparency has led to distrust among both students and educators. Furthermore, the unequal availability of GenAI threatens to widen the gap between well resourced and under resourced schools. I firmly believe that AI literacy must include an ethical component. Students need to understand not just how to use AI, but how to think about the responsibilities that come with it. In our lab, we are exploring ways to integrate ethical discussions into AI literacy and prompt literacy, ensuring students see AI as a shared tool that should be used responsibly, ethically, and inclusively. In the words of the authors, and I quote, responsible AI policies are essential for promoting transparency and equity in education. End quote. And there you have it. Today's episode took us through the promises and challenges of generative AI in education. It is clear that this technology can offer transformative benefits, but it also requires very careful and informed use, something I am dedicated to fostering at our lab. Thanks again to the authors for their critical work and to all of you for tuning in. I will leave the link to this paper in the show notes. As always, I'm Sai Gattupalli for the Culture Compute podcast. Signing off. Until next time.